Hi, I'm Erica Cicero with e.cicerolaw LLC, here with your estate planning made easy moment of the week. This week, I want to explore what it looks like when a person has a usufruct over consumable property. Before I get into specifics, let's review the basics of what a consumable is according to Louisiana law. According to Louisiana Civil Code 536, consumable things are those that cannot be used without being expended or consumed, or without their substance being changed, such as money, harvested agricultural products, stocks of merchandise, foodstuffs, and beverages. According to Louisiana Civil Code 537, non-consumable things are those that may be enjoyed without alteration of their substance, although their substance may be diminished or deteriorated naturally by time or by use of which they are applied, such as land, houses, shares of stock, animals, furniture, and vehicles. We largely discuss non-consumables in context of homes. One more thing. A usufruct is a right by one person over the property of another. The person has the right to the property. That person's called a usufructuary. A usufructuary has the right to use the property, also known as usus, and benefit from the property financially, which is also known as fructus, throughout his or her lifetime. But this usufructuary is not the naked owner of the property and therefore cannot alienate it, which is also known as abusus. If a usufructuary has rights over a bank account, the usufructuary may spend the cash. However, when the usufruct ends, the naked owners are entitled to receive the value of the bank account at the inception of the usufruct. As is often the case, many couples will have a home and investments. What happens with consumables such as cash money or other such valuable possessions like expensive wine collections? According to the Louisiana Civil Code 538, if the things subject to the usufruct are consumables, the usufructuary becomes owner of them. He may consume, alienate, or encumber them as he sees fit. At the termination of the usufruct, he is bound either to pay the naked owner the value that the thing had at the commencement of the usufruct, or to deliver to him the thing of the same quality and quantity. So, what does this look like in reality? Let's say Bob and Lori save $10 million of community property for their retirement. Bob dies before he ever gets to see retirement, and before he made time to protect his assets through estate planning with e.cicerolaw LLC. And therefore, he dies intestate, without a last will and testament. Lori and Bob have 3 children. All 3 are heirs under Louisiana law. So Lori would have a usufructuary over Bob's 1/2 of the community property money, which equals $5 million, and she would be full owner of her 1/2 share of the $5 million. Lori would have the right to use the money and benefit from it, meaning she could work with a financial advisor, invest the money, and use the profits to live on if she wanted to. She could use the full $10 million to buy property to live on or profit from if she chose, but the court will likely require Lori to furnish security for the $5 million 1/2 share of Bob's portion that she has a usufruct over. The court will require this to ensure that when the usufruct ends, with Lori's death or remarriage, Bob's heirs, their 3 children, will be able to step in as full owners of the $5 million and divide that money equally between them. The court just wants to ensure that this money will exist when the usufruct ends. I would like to remind you that intestate usufructs end upon death or remarriage. So if Lori dies, she cannot create a will leaving all $10 million to her favorite child, or in a pet trust, or donate it to the church. She has the right to dispose of her 1/2 share of the $10 million. However, her estate will owe her 3 children the $5 million that she had a usufruct over. The $5 million will be paid from the top. Therefore, if Lori spends $4 million of the $10 million during her lifetime and $6 million remains of the total $10 million, then she would not have the right to bequeath her $5 million to whomever she chose. Rather, her heir's portion would be reduced by $4 million, as the portion to which she had a usufruct over would come from the top. So in this hypothetical, where there's only $6 million remaining, her heir would only receive $1 million after paying the 3 children Bob's share. But what happens when someone has something that's not as easily disposed of as money? What happens if Bob and Lori have an extensive wine collection that they spend their entire marriage amassing? Let's say that their wine collection was valued at $500,000. What happens if Lori wants to open a bottle of wine and drink it? The same would be the case as with the money. Lori would have 1/2 ownership of the bottles of wine, since those wine bottles are classified as community property. Therefore, she will have a usufruct over Bob's 1/2 share with the children as naked owners. She would have full ownership of her 1/2 share and could do with it as she pleases. Lori's share amounts to $250,000 at the time of Bob's death, so she has the right to drink a bottle of wine if she wants. She has the right to liquidate her full share of the bottles of wine. However, she does not have the right to drink all the bottles of wine without furnishing a security for Bob's 1/2 share, which equals $250,000, and that will go to his heirs, their children. If she does drink down all the bottles of wine, or sells them, or even dumps them down the drain without furnishing security with the court, as is most often the case, then Lori will owe $250,000 to her children, who are Bob's heirs at the time of her death or remarriage, which is when the usufruct ends. If her death breaks the usufruct, then this $250,000 that is owed to the children will come off the top of her estate, just like it did with the money, and no one she bequeaths assets to will have the right to collect until the naked owners of Bob's property collect. It is important to note that if, in the case of wine bottles, the consumable goes up in value, that does not affect the security. So if the bottles of wine that Lori collected with Bob went up in value from $500,000 to $600,000 during the time that Lori has a usufruct over the property, then Lori would not owe Bob's forced heirs $300,000 upon her death, which would be 1/2 of the $600,000. She would owe them the value of at the time of the inception of the usufruct. So in layman's terms, Lori owes the heirs the value of the wine or the product or money at the time that the usufruct was created, which is Bob's death. So if Lori makes money on the $10 million that I used as an example that she inherits in a usufruct, and let's say she earns $1 million during her lifetime, the value goes up. Lori doesn't owe her children 1/2 of $11 million. She only owes them their 1/2 portion of the original share. And the same thing happens with the wine. If the wine goes up in value from $500,000 to $600,000, Lori only owes $250,000, which is 1/2 of the $500,000 to the heirs. If you'd like to learn more about usufructs, I have several videos that I'll link below to explore this complicated topic. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe for more weekly content on Louisiana estate planning law.